Welcome back to the Back Nine Banter Podcast. We're talking about the world of golf, bringing great insights about the game, professionally and even within the amateur ranks. So come hang every Tuesday. Sit back, relax, and enjoy the show. Now, back to your host, Bryce Zimmerman.
Welcome back, everybody. This is Bryce, your host of the Back Nine Banter Podcast. Welcome to Episode 2 of our podcast. This week, we're going to do a recap of the Farmers Insurance Open. Pretty interesting tournament with another first-time winner, Mattieu Pavon. But before we get into that, no Connor this week as he is sick. So I brought in a new guest. I'm going to welcome Jack Richie R to the podcast. Welcome.
Thank you very much for having me here. It's a real pleasure. I think I'll start off by just saying some things about me.
Yeah.
I started around 2017, and I fell in love with the game, as all of us do. And I really enjoyed the competitiveness of the sport. And I didn't really play well during my high school years, so I went to IJGA for my gap year for about 8 months. Practiced really hard there during COVID, and ended up coming here to University of Hartford on a D1 scholarship. Yeah.
Nice.
Thanks, man.
Love to hear that, and I appreciate you taking the time to join me for this week's episode of the Back Nine Banter. So we'll go ahead and start with the recap of the Farmers Insurance Open. Like I mentioned, Mattieu Pavon, first-time winner, Frenchman, winning with Nicolai Højgaard coming in second, 12 under. Just an interesting week. Another good week on tour with, some pretty, I'd say that's relatively high scoring at Torrey Pines. Usually it all depends on the weather. The scores were pretty low to start as it poured. They got a lot of rain the day before and the first round. That's why opening round lead was 8 under par by Kevin Yu. And as things started to firm up, it definitely got tougher, and the conditions on the North Course seemed to be a whole lot easier than the South Course, as the South Course is the host of the U.S. Open whenever they host it. But yeah, I thought it was some interesting golf. A lot of names that you really just never see. Obviously, Pavon, Højgaard, Jake Knapp, Steven Jaeger, who unfortunately, I wouldn't say choked, but he fell apart on the back nine as he was basically leading most of the weekend. But give me some of your thoughts on the weekend.
Yeah, I mean, Jaeger had a very short putt that he missed for tap-in. And I think that kind of set him off mentally in the state. And Pavon played absolutely great, kept it going, had some great up and downs to keep him in the mix. I mean, the golf's a game of inches, so I mean, that one, I think it was on the 15th or 14th when he nearly went over the green to a tight pin. I mean, but he was millimeters from the hazard area. So, I mean, he got that up and down and made a very clutch par putt. Yeah. Yeah,
I mean, that up and down was crazy. I thought when I was watching the broadcast that he went into the hazard and lucky enough to stay out of it. Yeah. And unbelievable par putt he made on 16 from, it looked like 25, 30 feet. And Jaeger was in there, I think, inside 10 feet for birdie and didn't even touch the hole. So I think that was about the turning point when it was Pavon and then Højgaard came into the mix. Obviously Pavon made a bogey on 17 and just made the most unbelievable up and down on 18 out of the thickest rough. I mean, you could barely even see his feet. And made that birdie to win because Højgaard was already in for birdie, I believe. So it was just an unbelievable way to finish the week, and obviously another first-time winner on tour, and we've got some interesting winners so far this year.
It's gonna be cool to see Pavon play in the 2024 Olympics. If he does play, that'll be very, very cool at his home in Paris. I mean, I don't think he's from Paris, but like in France in general, his home country, that would be really, really cool.
Yeah, I'd imagine that he would probably get in. All the other Frenchmen that play are probably on DP World Tour. A lot of those guys that I don't really know a whole lot about, but you see a lot of those guys that get into the Olympics because not many people, you don't really get too many, people from outside the country playing on the tour. There's a decent amount, but from some of those smaller countries, they kind of all play on the DP World Tour. But good week for some other players too. Just highlighting Tony Finau. I actually watched him a decent amount during the first round, and he seemed to be struggling with the driver a little bit. But he obviously got it back with a 66, sloppy third round, 74. But he's definitely a player that I could see, winning at least once sometime this year.
Yes.
You can't ever count him out. He's always a super
100%.
star-studded player. And Bo Hostler too. I don't know if you saw that, but he made an unbelievable eagle on 18. He just flagged it. I think it was from like 250 or around there, and made an unbelievable eagle putt from about like 15 feet. He usually, or the putt that he had, usually a lot of people misread, because it's kind of in like a fall line, it seems, as they putt. But he found it and was able to make it for eagle to finish tied for 6 at 10 under, which is a good week for him, as he's kind of a low-profile player that's never won. Been at a playoff one time at the Houston Open and lost to Ian Poulter, but that's about his highlight of his career.
I have some things for our last week co-host Connor Byrne, Shane Lowry, with a incredible albatross.
Yep.
How was that? That was an amazing shot there.
Yeah, I actually had opened. I remember I had opened Instagram that morning, and it was like I saw albatross, and I was like, oh, no way. And then of course, it had to be Shane. As we talked about last week on the podcast that Connor's his favorite golfer, Shane Lowry, and the beef that we had with Ricky. Obviously, Ricky didn't play last week in the Farmers, but we'll see him at the Pebble Beach Pro-Am this week. But yeah, that was I think it was 256. I don't know what he had to carry that bunker by like a margin, and it hit the stick dead on, and it almost lipped out.
Yeah.
And that was a really cool shot.
Got the video here here.
Split it.
It was
at the 256.
256 yards to the hole.
Club
And it was
here
a
for
great shot there.
Yeah, it was
just big
Very
landed
lucky bounce.
over, and lucky bounce. Just hit the pin and then trickled around the stick and went in. And there was also another close albatross by Parker Cootie.
Yes, I saw that.
Yeah,
I saw that.
That was from like 289 or something, and he I think it lipped out. That was on the 9th, I believe.
Very narrow, long par 5. Played that a couple times on Top Golf.
Yeah. So have I.
Yeah, on Top Trade. So yeah, that was very, very cool. I just wanted to give my input about this week's tour winner. That could have easily gone to a playoff.
Oh, 100%.
Easily gone to a
100%.
playoff. If Pavon didn't clutch that putt up, we could have seen, I guess, Højgaard, PGA Tour winner, which would have been crazy.
Yeah,
but
I'm a big Højgaard fan, both of them. I think they're great players. They've got great swings. They're bound to break through. I wouldn't be shocked if I saw them up there in a major one year. Whether it's the Open, the U.S. Open. Not sure if they're in the Masters or not. But yeah, great week from Nikolai. He's gonna break through at some point. They've already both broken through on the DP World Tour, so they've got that experience. They know how to win.
Great ball strike of the ball.
Yeah.
Great. It's a nice tight draw.
Yeah, they've got phenomenal swings.
Phenomenal swings. I watched a couple of highlights on the last round highlights, and to be fair, that's one of the best swings I've seen on tour. Great swing.
Yeah, great. Just overall, the fundamentals of their swing are just phenomenal. Before we move on, just wanted to go over the picks from last week. Connor ended up choosing Max Homa to defend. Max Homa finished 8 under for the week, tied for 13th. Not a bad week for him. I was watching him. He was featured in the first round, feature group. I think he shot even or 1 under. He definitely struggled, but found his stuff over the weekend to finish T13. Not bad defending. I picked Sahith Theegala. He made the cut on the number at 3 under. Didn't have a good weekend. Played the weekend at 3 over, so he finished even. So Connor got me there with the picks. But yeah, there's a lot of other stuff to talk about in the golf world outside the Farmers Insurance.
Yeah.
You want to talk about the Korn Ferry Tour? You know a little bit about?
Yeah, I mean, as people don't know, I'm from South Africa. So, Aldrich Potgieter winning on the Korn Ferry Tour, that's crazy. It's really, and at 7, is it 7? No, he's 19.
He's 19,
and one of the youngest on.
He was the youngest to win on the Korn Ferry Tour.
Yeah, that's absolutely phenomenal. I mean, I saw a couple of videos of that event, and it looked really, really, really windy.
Yeah.
And I think that would actually play to his strength, because I know he grew up in Mossel Bay, and then I think he went to Australia for a little bit, and then he came back. But Mossel Bay is an area in South Africa which houses a lot of great golf talent. Louis Oosthuizen went there. He has an academy there, and that whole area is just all about golf. And there's a lot of great golf courses there, and a lot of great talent comes from that area. But the reason why I'm saying that is he had a little bit of an advantage because Mossel Bay is notoriously windy normally. Very, very windy area, and also by Pinnacle Point. And a very, very challenging weather that I think maybe helped him succeed and get his Korn Ferry Tour win, which I think was very, very impressive. Because the scores weren't that low because it was very difficult.
Yeah, he won at 10 under, which, I've seen. There's been years during that event because I was at Exuma, I think, and the winning scores can. I mean, I've seen them. I think they've been in the 20 unders when it's like perfect conditions, and then there was also a year where I think 3 under won it. I think there was like a year the first round scoring average was like 78 or 79, and like a lot of guys struggled. But it was just super cool to see him win. 19 years old, winning on the Korn Ferry Tour. Obviously, he's going to have a Korn Ferry Tour card now. I think he just was handed a limited amount of starts. But now he's got his Korn Ferry Tour card. Obviously, he's going to be chasing the PGA Tour card, and I'm sure he's going to be getting a couple tour starts coming up. But I figured you had some great insight on him and his background and everything, so...
I mean, yeah, he won the amateur before Christopher Lamprecht. Yeah, so I mean, you got Aldrich Potgieter and Christopher Lamprecht, the last 2 South Africans winning the last 2 amateurs. I mean, that's phenomenal from South Africa.
I appreciate your input. I don't know a whole lot about him, and I know you do, so it's definitely nice to have that information to be put on the podcast for this week, especially, youngest Korn Ferry Tour winner. Awesome to see. The week after, or not even the week after, it was 3 days after Dunlap won, so getting a 20-year-old and then a 19-year-old on the 2 biggest, the PGA Tour and then the development tours, it's unproblevable.
Speaking of Nick Dunlap.
Yep. We'll transfer right into that.
Yeah. Nick Dunlap has turned pro, ladies and gentlemen.
Yep.
He has turned pro.
Professional golfer, Nick Dunlap. We kind of all knew it was going to happen. You can't give that up. Connor and I talked about it last week on the podcast, and he would have been stupid to not. I mean, obviously, I understand him taking a week off, just kind of, probably talking with his family, talking with his coach at Alabama, friends, the guys on the team, just weighing all his decisions. And at the end of the day, the best decision is to turn pro. You've got a 2-year exemption on tour. You get into all the signature events, which is basically like guaranteed money. And, he's going to be able to play the Masters, the PGA Championship, the U.S. Open. I'm sure he'll find his way into the Open, no problem, depending on how he plays. But he's playing at Pebble this week. I can't wait to see it.
Talking about the Pebble Beach Pro-Am field, any picks or kind of people that you might want to be seeing here? I see we got Aberg Ludwig, great player.
Yeah.
Kristen Bezuidenhout is coming back into the scene.
Yeah, we know you like Bezuidenhout.
Yeah, after that tight second place to Nick Dunlap.
Yep.
What other big names are there?
Ricky's playing this week, so I'll have some action. I know. Shane Lowry's not in the field this week, just talking on behalf of Connor. I think Seamus Power is in the field, so Connor and I will have some action this week as we'll go head-to-head with Ricky and Seamus, depending on how they finish. But I know past champion of the AT&T, Tom Hoagie, is playing.
We got
He's someone to look for.
we got Patrick Cantley, big names.
Yep.
Clark Wyndham.
Patrick
Wyndham
Cantley is
Clark,
always up there.
Then we got Tommy Fleetwood, Matt Fitzpatrick.
Yeah. It's the second signature event of the year. So
Terrell Hatton. He is playing this week, and as well as who else do we have here? Tom Kim. What other?
Yeah, there's a lot. It's a lot of big names. It's all the biggest names. You know, Spieth is playing, Scheffler's playing. It's gonna be a great event this week. Seeing all those courses: Pebble, Spyglass, and what's the third one? Cypress Point. Those are all. I love watching that event. It's such a good event. Especially getting to see the amateurs too, and they're playing with. I did take a look at the field yesterday before as we were prepping for the podcast, and I just love seeing all the big names. We had some big names this past week at the Farmers Insurance. Morikawa played, and you got Morikawa, Homa, Finau, some of the bigger names, but not as big as it is in a signature event, it's going to be nice to see. Hopefully we can get a bigger name winning so we can have a lot more to talk about instead of learning about a new first-time winner.
Yeah, I mean, I love to see it though. I love to see some first-time winners on
absolutely.
tour, getting some recognition. A lot of those people who we haven't seen a lot of on tour, you don't see the amount of effort they put in the background. Whereas, you don't see all that effort that pros sometimes put in, and it's crazy to see them finally doing really well. And Pavon, I'm sure winning a PGA Tour event is going to be life-changing for him.
Yeah, absolutely. Now he's in the all the signature events too. Now that he won the Farmers Insurance Open, so we'll see him this week at Pebble and see how he fares. And I'm sure we'll be talking about that next week as we do our recap for the AT&T Pebble Beach Pro-Am. But yeah, like we said, a lot of big names, so it's going to be really, really cool to see who's going to be in contention this weekend. Is there anyone in specific that you're looking for before we keep talking about some other topics?
I'm thinking I don't count out Christian Bezuidenhout.
Yeah.
I think he's a very, very good player. And as we saw in the last...
Yeah, played great golf at the Amex, 28 under par.
Yeah,
I mean...
Very, very good golf.
that wins every other week. Unfortunately, Nick Dunlap had an unbelievable week, and it'll be interesting to see. We'll have a lot to talk about Nick Dunlap as well, as he's making his first start at a pro at arguably one of the best sites of the year on the PGA Tour. So that'll be good to see. I'm going to keep an eye on Tom Hoge this week. For whatever reason, he seems to usually play well there, and obviously he won. I don't know if Daniel Berger's in the field or not, but he also is a past winner there, coming back from injury. I wouldn't expect him to win if he is in the field.
I'll just check that. I think he is.
But, you can't count out the big names. Jordan's obviously a past winner there as well, so it'll be interesting to see how he plays heading into the some of the bigger events of the season. But a lot to look out for at the AT&T Pebble Beach Pro-Am this week, as it's always, year in, year out, it's always a great event. But some of the bigger news, Anthony Kim. Seeing all the surfacing on Instagram, Anthony Kim's coming back. When's he coming back? Is he going to be playing on the PGA Tour? Is he going to be on Liv? What are your thoughts after you're seeing all the Anthony Kim stuff surface on Instagram, Twitter?
I can't really I don't have a great knowledge really of Anthony Kim. I feel like I started watching golf probably around 2017, 2018, around there.
Yeah.
When was Anthony Kim playing around normally?
It was, I was going to say, when he made 11 birdies in the final round at Augusta, I want to say that was 2010, 11, somewhere around there. I don't think it was 2011 was the Rory year that Rory choked. But I think it was somewhere around then, and then obviously he just fell off the face of the earth and quote unquote retired for whatever. There's been a bunch of reasons that came out, people are going to believe what they believe. But I would love to see him come back. Obviously, Liv, I feel like, would be the most realistic option for him, as that would give them way more traction and way more elevation above the PGA Tour. But stuff came out this morning about the Liv Tour that it seems like they're already full for the start of their 2024 season. Nothing's confirmed or 100%. We don't have any inside information, but I woke up this morning seeing that Tyrrell Hatton did sign with Liv.
$50 million deal.
Yeah, I saw 60 million, obviously 50, 60, whatever.
Yeah.
But I did see that he was signed to be a part of Jon Rahm's team.
That will be a great team. I'm sorry, that Tyrrell Hatton and Jon Rahm, that will be phenomenal.
Yeah, apparently the other one is Kieran Vincent. He went through the Liv Promotions tour that happened in December at the Abu Dhabi Club. Apparently Adrian Moronk on the a good player on the DP World Tour, probably should have been playing in the Ryder Cup. Apparently he signed with Cleeks, which is Martin Keimer's team. Lucas Herbert signed with Cam Smith's team. And apparently Caleb Surratt, the amateur, I don't know if he's going to be turning pro or not, but apparently he also signed with Jon Rahm's team as well. So obviously nothing's confirmed. Nothing will be confirmed. But it's got to be soon, because I think the first Liv event is going to be this week at Mayakoba.
That'll be exciting to watch.
Yeah, very exciting to watch. I mean, obviously that was an event that the PGA Tour used to host an event at, and obviously they went away once Liv announced that they were going to be playing there. But it'll be interesting to see, especially Tyrrell Hatton. I mean, that's one of the bigger names on the DP World Tour and the PGA Tour. He splits a lot of time going between the two, and I feel like he probably could have gotten offered a little bit more money. I mean, he seems like a pretty prominent figure for both tours, and he played in the Ryder Cup.
Yes, and
so
he won the Ryder Cup.
Yeah, won the Ryder Cup. So being a part of Jon Rahm's team, whatever the name of their team is whenever it gets surfaced, I feel like they could be a force to be reckoned with, and that's another big name that the PGA Tour just lost. So it'll be interesting to see. I'm sure we're going to have a lot of news surfacing. I did see that Bryson DeChambeau said that there was some news coming soon about the merger.
Yeah.
Whatever their next steps may be. So that'll be really interesting to see regarding if they're going to start having joint events or whatever the case may be in terms of money, sponsorships, and et cetera, because the more big name players that are leaving, the more the PGA Tour is going to be struggling, and the bigger Liv's going to get. So
yeah. You've been to a Liv event, haven't you?
Yeah, I did go to Liv Boston the first year. So that was at I think it was September 2022.
Yeah.
I went, and I loved it. I mean, I've been a fan. I'm not just a fan of Liv. I'm a fan of like professional golf as a whole. That's why we do this podcast. We mention Liv. We talk about the PGA Tour, the Korn Ferry Tour. I think it's just, I mean, I'm not going to pass up on the opportunity to go watch the best players in the world. I mean, I'm not
100%.
I went there. I saw Brooks. I saw Phil. I saw Bryson. I saw DJ. Like, I saw Oosthuizen, and
it's amazing seeing them in person.
Yeah, Lee Westwood, Martin Keimer. I mean, I'm watching major champions and big players and legends of the game. I mean,
yes,
Phil Mickelson's a legend of the game, and I
went to the 150th Open in St Andrews, and I was actually staying in Scotland, and I went with my mother, and we took a car the morning of, and we just went there. We were able to find tickets somewhere online, and we went, and it was probably the best experience of my life, just to see them in person in real life, because I've only seen them through screens my whole life, like seen them play golf and on these different amazing golf courses, but seeing them in real life, watching them hit a ball, it's something else. And I always think that I could maybe hit a ball in front of all those people, but when I got there and all these people are watching you, I feel like I would be a bit nervous. I'm not gonna lie. Hitting that ball, I mean, we've all been nervous on the first tee, but I feel like this would feel like something different, Have you been to a normal tour event before?
Yeah, when my dad took me to my first one. It was actually part of the FedEx Cup playoffs. It was called the Deutsche Bank at the time, which then came to the Dell Technologies Championship. For the last couple of years, it was hosted. It was at TPC Boston in Norton, Mass. So I went to that event for I think 6 years in a row, and I remember when I was young. I think I was like 12 or 11 or 12 when my dad took me for the first time, and seeing those guys, it was the tour was a whole lot different then. I mean, I saw like Steve Stricker and some of the older guys now, and I saw them then, and seeing them then, and it was just like, holy crap, like these guys are phenomenal.
Yeah.
And I saw a lot of over the years. I saw Phil, he was there a lot, and I saw Tiger a couple of years. So it was really cool to see the range of players. I did spend, there were a couple of years where I spent a lot of time on the range just watching them hit balls, just because it's like what they do to practice, how they practice their short game, and what they do on the range with their time, and then obviously going out there and seeing them play in competition is just phenomenal. And I have been fortunate enough as well. I did go to the U.S. Open when it was at the Country Club in Brookline when Fitzpatrick won. I went for the practice round, and it was just cool because I've played that course before. It was cool to see how it was going to be set up for the Open. Obviously, they have 27 holes there, so what holes they were going to use for the routing. And then I've also been to the Masters twice. So that's, I've been very, very lucky to have been to the Masters. I went back-to-back years. I went 2014 and 2015. The first year I went, 2014, the year Bubba won, I went Friday, Saturday. And the place was just absolutely electric. It's a property unlike any other, a tradition like any other. It's absolutely phenomenal.
I have a question for you. How do you differ a PGA Tour event, the one that you went to, and Liv now? Like the difference in atmosphere, vibe, and getting around the golf course. Because I know that's the one big part about watching golf. It's a lot of walking.
Yeah.
A lot of walking, going to different courses and stuff. How does the atmosphere change in watching Liv compared to a tour event?
I would say that it's tough because the PGA Tour event is like kind of what you would just assumed it to be. So like, when I went, whatever years that I went, the first couple of years I was just kind of like taking it in, but like when I started to like gain more knowledge about the game and like professional golf and things like that, I would start to kind of have more attention to detail in the little things. I just feel like going to a PGA Tour event, the only like flat out PGA Tour event was the one that I went to, the Deutsche Bank, and obviously it was a playoff event too, so it was a little bit more elevated. You could tell it was like, I mean, every PGA Tour event's serious. I mean, they're playing for their job. But it was just it was like relaxing. You're gonna get your drunk guys. You're gonna get all the people that were gonna be loud. I went on the weekend some years, and I went on like the days where everybody was there, and it's a good atmosphere. But I feel like when I went to my Liv event, the Liv Boston, it was just kind of like unknown because you heard like, there's gonna be music. It's a shotgun, so it's like completely different. You're going to be seeing everybody at once. So kind of navigating the golf course, like you said, it's a little bit easier, I felt like, for the PGA Tour event because you knew where they were going to be. There's the morning wave and the afternoon wave, so you're going to be watching some players in the morning and some players in the afternoon, whereas like Liv, they're all out there at once. So I felt like, obviously they might have changed it now, but it was a little bit more confusing to find out where they were. I remember when I was walking with the people that I was with, and it was just like, we just kept going to different holes, and we saw the same people sometimes and the different people a lot of the time. And, there was music. The atmosphere was like pretty chatty. It was, I felt like the overall way to take away the Liv experience was just like interesting. It was fascinating to see like the brand of golf and like what their brand image was. And it's exactly what they say it was. It was rowdy, music, like it was weird. You're standing near the putting green, there's like music clear as day, which is something that you don't really think of.
I imagine you're trying to get dialed in for a 4-footer, and then you hear Eminem or something blasting in the background.
Yeah, exactly. And it was just,
And it starts playing Spaghetti. On his weak arms are heavy.
Yeah, it was.
No, that's funny.
It was interesting, and I felt like the whole experience of Liv, the tournament, was a lot more inviting for sure than the PGA Tour event. Not that the PGA Tour wasn't inviting, like, they still do autographs, they still do whatever after their round, just as the Liv guys do. But I feel like it was more. They were trying to get more of like the casual fan involved, like your recreational golfer involved, with the music and the drinking and like that type of atmosphere, because there's already drinking at the tour events, but I feel like the music already brings that to the next level. And they also offer like, I think that I forget what they call them, but there's like different like packages that you can buy for different like concession stands and like places to sit and like get drinks and stuff.
Hospitality. And stuff,
that's the word I was looking for. Different hospitality areas that are there. I think there's like 3 different levels, and obviously I didn't buy that just because we got the tickets for like $25, which is just absolute steal to go to. But a lot of differences between the two, and they're 2 different brands, and it'll be interesting to see when and if the merger comes, how they will navigate the differences, because I know there's a lot of guys on tour that I feel like just won't want to go over there and play with music and like are very serious about their jobs, and those guys already have guaranteed money, so it's like I feel like at the end of the day it's not that big of a deal for them.
I definitely think there's space for the merger. I think.
Yeah.
I definitely think there's space for the merger. I mean, Liv only happens how many times a year? I mean, it's not like it's week in, week out.
Yeah.
Like, there's definitely space for them to coincide and exist, I think.
Yeah.
Very much so. I mean, just like the World Golf Championship. What's the WGC? Same as those events, they all coincide. I know they're mainly run by the PGA, but are they run by the PGA or are they different entities?
The PGA Tour runs the WGC events.
So they run it, but they can coexist. You know what I mean?
Because the Liv Tour goes their schedule like around the majors too, because the guys can still play in the majors, so they have to do their schedule around the majors too and make sure that everything's going to work out. And I think they started to do that because, like you said, they don't play every week. Some weeks they do like back-to-back weeks, but they're going to be a whole lot more worldwide this year. I know they're going to like Singapore and Hong Kong and Australia and Spain, and so it's a worldwide tour and a couple events in the U.S., so it'll be interesting to see how that pans out and if the merger happens or when it'll happen and who's going to be involved in that, if Monahan's still going to be the person in charge for the PGA Tour, if he's going to be gone, and who's going to be running things on the Liv side.
Yes, I totally agree.
Any other things before we wrap up regarding the AT&T Pebble Beach? Anyone that you have just straight up solidified as your pick?
Like I said, Tristan Bezuidenhout. I could say some others, maybe Bo Hosler.
Yeah, he had a good week.
He had a really good week last week at Torrey Pines.
Yeah.
So I mean, I see him doing very well. Very solid golfer. Yeah, and would like to see him maybe up there in the top 10 maybe.
Yeah.
But Bezuidenhout, give him top 5.
All right.
I know every single time I see him there, I tell you about Bezuidenhout. Top 5. Yeah, he'll be there.
So you going Bezuidenhout with your pick for this week?
Yes.
All right.
100%.
So I know I mentioned Tom Hoagie. I like the Hostler pick.
Yeah.
For sure. Like I had talked about his eagle on the last. That was a great shot. Ricky in the field. I'm not sure about Ricky this week. Haven't seen him in action. He obviously missed cut at the Amex. Not a good week for him. Take a week off. Maybe he can recoup. I'm not going to go Ricky this week. I'm actually going to go Jordan Spieth this week.
Jordan Spieth.
I'm interested to see how he's going to look. Like I mentioned, past champion. I think he's due for a good week. I'm interested to see how he'll start his season. He played pretty well. He already played once at the Century. I think he was like 26 under or 27 under there at the Century, which was really good. He was up there at the end of the week battling with Chris Kirk and Sahith Theegala. But I'm going to go with Spieth this week. Interested to see how he'll play and if that can continue, and maybe we can see him win a major. But I'll go Spieth this week to battle with your Bezuidenhout.
Yes.
But yeah, that's all we got for this week of the Back Nine Banter, episode 2. Thank you guys so much for tuning in. We got a lot of support for the first episode last week, and it's just really fun being able to do this and talk about golf professionally and everything that's happening in the world of golf, and maybe some things that you don't hear about too often, whether that's on the live side or whatever it may be. But again, thank you guys so much for listening. Make sure to follow on Spotify if you haven't already. And we're on YouTube as well, so feel free to hit the subscribe button, leave a like, leave a comment on what to improve on, what you guys want to talk about, and yeah, follow all the social media. We'll have that linked as well. Thank you so much for tuning in, and we will see you guys for week 3, which is going to be week 3, episode 3, which is going to be a recap of the AT&T Pebble Beach Pro-Am.